Now I've already loaded up my Logic software onto my Mac. And so we're going to talk about the various ways we can launch our session or even launch Logic without launching a session on the computer. Now, for example, you'll see here in the middle I have this Logic Pro session folder. And here we have a Logic file, as you can see right there. And this is a Logic test file. I can click on this file here, and I'll be able to open Logic. I also have here a link to a file right here. And this is the Numbers Game, which is a Logic song that comes with the software. And I can launch it from here. See, there's a little link sign right there as well. I can also go to my dock right here in the bottom, and Logic will appear right there. And I can click and load Logic from here. Let's do that right now. So now we're loading Logic. You can see here we have the intro box to Logic as it loads up here. And it's loading and searching for all the instruments, the MIDI drivers, and everything else. Now, sometimes I may have a keyboard plugged up into the system, and I don't have it in, so it'll prompt you and say, well, where's the keyboard at? So make sure if you do have a keyboard in your system, like an Auxium Pro or some sort of MIDI keyboard, that is connected already to your MIDI interface. Now here, we have a template page. Here I can choose a template that matches the type of music I'm trying to create for the project. So for example, we have compose here. You see I have electronica, we have hip hop, orchestral, R&B, rock, songwriter, and we can explore. Some empty sessions well on top. We have guitar tones, we have instruments, and here in produce, we have sessions for tracks, for multi-track source. We can also use it for movie scores, or here's a TDM configuration. Here's a surround sound mastering system for a surround mastering. And we have a stereo mastering template as well. So here I'm going to go back to compose, and I'm going to go to this R&B template. Most of this hip hop would be kind of gritty. And I'll pull this up. You see it's going to load. It's going to load the sounds in. I'm going to get a session to start out with. And here's our session. I'll make it a little bit smaller for us to see. But as you can see here, we have tracks already in the session, of course. And so it's asking me to save the session. So I can name the session, which I will right now. I'll call it New Song. And now I'll click Save. And now it's saving that session. See, now it's prompting me for my devices. I normally have an Auxium Pro set up here, but it's not right now. The reason why I have it is to show you what will happen if you don't have your device plugged in and it's already set up for the system. Make sure you have it plugged in before you start using it. So I'll press continue. And now I did that. I'm going to quit Logic. That's how we can open up a session, open a file real quickly, and then we've saved it. So you got to make sure you know you save that too as well. That's important to do. Now, I can go back in here to Logic again. I'll open it one more time. And I'm going to open it from the dock as well again. And it's going to open up. And I'll come back out here to drivers. And here we have again, we have a template view of templates. Let's suppose we want to use an empty project template. I'll click on that right now. And it opens up. And what's acting for again? Acting for that Auxium Pro again. But it's also prompting me to say, well, look, in order for you to use this as a brand new empty session, before I can even save it, I have got to have some tracks in here. So we have 3 different types of tracks we can have in our Logic session. Now here, we can have an audio track. I'll start with this one first. We'll press create a software track. Now, so now it's creating a software track, which you see right here is a software track, as you can see. Now, the software track is an instrument track. And this track, I can have a guitar, a bass, drums, whatever. And it has MIDI regions on it as well. So it's MIDI data. So I can play on my MIDI keyboard, and the data will appear here for this track. Now, if I want to make another new track, I can go right here and say New Track. Now we get the same dialog box, which appears right here in the middle. And I can go to audio. Let's go to audio now. And here in audio, I have several formats. I can have mono, stereo or surround. I can have input. whatever inputs I have selected for my system. There's 1 and 2 in this case. I have output as well. Input monitoring, record enable. We have ascending and descending for the inputs. So here I'll just go to create. And what this does, it creates an audio track. And you can see by this waveform icon that's right there for that track. It's audio 1. So in this track, I can record audio in, or I can take audio files and place them in, some like samples or whatever, and put in this track, which is an audio track. Now the last track I can use here, I'm going to go back here to it says track, and we're going to go to new, and the same box comes up again, but now we're going to have an external MIDI track. And this is an external MIDI track, meaning that we're going to have MIDI data coming from an external source directly into our system. See? And this is software instrument setting name right there. See that? So now if I want to save, I'm going to go back here to save it. I'll save the project. I'll save. And I can pick a location. Here, let's say Logic. I can pick, let's say, desktop. And I may want to save it there. And we have several options we can do. We can copy external audio files to a project folder. We can do the EX instruments to a project folder. We can copy ultrabeat samples to a project folder. We can copy the space designer and movie files to a project folder. So we have several different folders in this main folder for this particular song. Or rather project, I guess. Wait. There we go, project. Now I'll save it to my desktop. Now I'll press save. See that? Existing project folder found. Now I can either navigate to a location which appears to be the project folder, or I can go new. So I can use that one or create one. So let's say create one. So I created a new project folder for that. I will show it later on. Now when you launch Logic, sometimes you may not want to launch it and have this template dialog box come up so it can prompt you. Or what do you want to use? This template or that template? You may want to just say nothing at all, or you may want to launch the most recent project you were working with. So that's how we do that. We go back here to Logic, and we're going to go to Preferences, and we're going to go to General. We launch General, and you'll see here in Project Handling, we have several options here. A little higher here, good. We have several options here for Project Handling. We can create new project from templates. That's a startup action, right? We can do nothing. We have open most recent project, open existing project. We can create new project from template, which you saw earlier we were doing. That happens, that create new project is the first thing that happens when you launch your Logic Pro software. And then we have create new empty project, which you saw earlier we just did. So these are different options we have. Or you can say ask. It'll ask, well, what do you want to do? It'll ask you. So in this case, I'll go to do nothing. Or I'll do most recent project. That's good. And other options appear here too. We have the auto backup. So that means that Logic Pro will save the last 10 versions. I can select how many? I can say the last 8 or 9. So it'll automatically back up your project constantly as you're working with it, which is a great feature. That way, if you want to go back to a setting you had before, you can go to a backup and see what you were doing. So let's close this off right now. And the next thing we want to do here is I want to quit Logic. Great. So now we have Logic here. Now my other project song appears over here. Let me go over here and drag it out here, up here in the center again. And see, it put it in the desktop, and now I'll double click on it a little bit, and you'll see, it put an audio folder in there and the song, see that? And the time. And this is the same. So it's asking, do you want to put it in this folder? No. I put it in a separate, brand new folder. Now, another way to launch Logic is to launch your applications folder. And in that folder, you'll see Logic here. So see Logic in your folder. I have it right here in applications. Now, we're using Logic Pro, Studio Pro. And this version is the 9.1 version. Other versions could be in there. So I want to launch the latest version. I will launch Logic Pro. That's the version I'm working with right now, which is 9.1 Logic.